Hello, Flat Earth Researchers and Debunkers. I just tried to set up a stream just now, didn't quite work. Let's get straight into it. Down in the description, you'll see a link to the latest video by Wise Up, a really good channel who's been investigating ancient Earth, basically ancient cultures, ancient civilizations, and the remnants of them, what's left over. One of the aspects Wise Up has been talking about is ancient trees, giant trees, silicon-based trees, and the research in that area is amazing, and can really make you think about how the Earth is something that has grown. And yeah, in terms of evolution, you can think of the Earth as being something that's grown, and the Earth beneath our feet is obviously life that has grown from the Earth, and then it's grown to, could be massive proportions, and then died and become part of the Earth that we now stand upon. Yeah, we're told by the astrophysicists and the theoretical physicists that you're made of stardust, and there's and of course they find that amazing, and that's almost like a religious revelation to these people. But we're always having our attention directed millions and millions of miles away from the Earth. To tell us that's where you came from. The water on this Earth came from comets from outer space. You're made of stardust and all these things. When really, if you really think about it, it's the Earth. It's the simple fact of the matter is that we and everything comes from the Earth. Everything we use, we consume, we build with is from the Earth. If you want, Mother Earth is the God that we really should be worshipping. That's, wherever the Earth, the creation of the Earth came from, whatever that originated from, was that something else? Is that another entity? Well, is there some form of intelligence that created the Earth? When, if you think about it, it's the Earth is the manifestation of the intelligence. It has everything. It's not an accident. And one of the things about the ancient tree thing is of course that you have, for example, gold and gems and precious stones and such that are in the Earth, and these appear to be the remnants of ancient trees, tree sap, for example. And of course they fall down and they create these layers, and you could then extend that to giant creatures, or all creatures. We have elements inside us, don't we? We have elements of all these different, even if they're trace elements. So you can imagine that, where did they come from? Well, they come from the Earth, just like a tree grows from a tree can grow from water, from Earth. Brings in the nutrients and it grows, and it gets leaves and just keeps on growing from these elements. So of course those elements are in the tree and in us and in every living creature that comes from the Earth. Yeah, from the Earth. And so in that sense, there's often the argument that among, for example, atheists or something like that, against any kind of religion that worships a god. Well, how come God allows all this suffering to go on? Why do innocent children end up being in horrible situations? And if there's a benevolent God overseeing all, well, of course, that's the thing, isn't it? With the religious aspect, it tells us to be good people. So that we can go to heaven one day and don't go to hell. A lot of that is fear-based. But for example, when you look at aspects of Buddhism, that's all about coming to that realization that consciousness, life, pops in and out, and the whole idea is to release your attachment to that. And of course, a lot of this striving for the stars and what have you, and scientific development is often about prolonging life. It's more based on a fear of death. And maybe we have that whole thing the wrong way around. Maybe death is the most honorable thing you can do, is to go back to the earth. And of course, in that sense, you're giving back the life that you've had. And I want to show you an example of this in the garden. Now, one thing about, I'm going to try and turn this camera around if I can. One thing about, I'll read your comments later. One thing about kind of living in Thailand is that you can be kind of shocked at the raw nature of some of the things you see. You go to a market and you see live fish that are going to get beaten up to be eaten, and it's considered very cruel and it's very hellish, and things like that. And although I don't really, I try to avoid eating meat and things like that. Sometimes you can't just kind of pass it off as an unconscious act. Of course, the way we factory farm and things like that is horrific. There's a difference between maybe, obviously how we treat sentient beings is a big thing as well. But I want you to take a look at this this pond. Now it looks pretty raggedy now. This was full of lovely plants and things like that. We've got these kind of Chinese watercress and things. Now what's happened is I brought some plants from a pond. So with those plants came snails. And here's one of these buggers down here. I wonder if I can grab it. These guys turn out to be quite big. Okay. Now the thing is, they grow and grow and they multiply. You can see a whole bunch of them there. And of course, we're in an enclosed space. Yeah. So what happens is they, of course, multiply and they eat everything. Yeah. And so there's nothing left. Now in the countryside, up country, what would happen is these. This shouldn't be in here. These snails. There's a couple there. Yeah, a couple joined together. They would just appear in the rice fields. Yeah, but what would happen is the people harvesting the rice would grab these and go and grab these in a net or whatever, maybe hundreds at a time. And then boil them up and put them in a soup or a stew or whatever. And so in that, because the thing is, if you allow them to just run riot like this, then they basically destroy the rice crops. So there has to be a balance, doesn't there? There has to be a balance. Now, obviously, by creating a pond, I've created an artificial environment which is going to get overpopulated, by whichever thing does that. And in this case, it's the snails, and they've eaten bloody everything. Yeah, there's nothing left for them or anything else. Okay, so it's a dilemma, isn't it? Now, if we had gone and eaten the snails, then there would be some balance. We'd still have some of the other flora in the pond, right? Does that make sense? So, we're talking about the benevolent nature of God. Well, of course, if you think about Earth being the God, our God, it's very tangible, it's very real, and we would have to accept the fact that, Mother Earth knows best, in that the way everything is designed on this earth is to have this constant cycle of birth, growth, death, decay, and consumption. Yeah. So naturally, like all other other animals are not really necessarily bothered like us humans about eating other animals, and of course, one doesn't want to put suffering on anything, and I'm not advocating any particular kind of lifestyle. I'm just trying to put things into perspective, in which we live in a world in which we have to consume things one way or another. And I'm not saying that we have to consume animals, but there is a balance. When you just look around in nature, that's how the balance is maintained, right? Things get consumed by other things, and for whatever reasons, maybe there is some karma going on, maybe there's some reincarnation. Who knows what that aspect of the whole Earth trip is? But my point is that if you can look at life without that expectation that God is going to be someone benevolent, or even a he or a she. I mean, Mother Earth, obviously, the Earth is fertile. Earth is giving birth to everything, yeah. And what I find ironic about the whole silicon tree thing is that our leap in communication technology is based on silicon, that substance from the Earth, which if it's true, the ancient trees were comprised of, and we know that trees communicate, and maybe different species of trees are communicating with the Earth, with each other. Fungi, we know, can communicate across vast stretches of land. And so what's it comprised of? It's comprised of this organic material, and it communicates. And if you get back in tune with nature and the natural rhythm of things, then you don't need the kind of communication that we've actually adopted or created with our technology, which is ironically based on silicon, right? Silicon Valley, all the microchips, etc. This is obviously a conduit. Silicon is obviously a fantastic conduit for communication. And so, we use it to communicate. Trees and plants and the Earth uses it to communicate with each other, right? The thing is, unlike other animals, we lose touch because we're focused on this other God. We've disconnected from our place on the Earth, as it were. Yeah. Hi, CC. Hello, Flat Earth Stuff. Nuo Loreda. Okay, hi. Yes, we see patterns in nature, yes. Earthship Bear, hello. The creation is incredible. That's right, yeah, and just from a personal perspective, these last few, I don't know, months, whatever, I mean, it's that letting go. Letting go is the most important part of this. When you let go and you let things evolve, I'm sure all of us have, if you're kind of in your whatever 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you probably worked hard to get to where you are, but there's a point where we might have had all sorts of plans and things like that, and you might have achieved a lot of things, but there's points where in your life where things become too much. There's too much stress, or there's other things that you should be focused on. And the thing is, if you've just kind of done your thing day by day and done the best you can day by day, and sometimes you do things and you get through something, it could be trying to resolve something. You don't give up, you just get through it. Something that was daunting at first, and you take those steps to get through it. Eventually you get it done. It can be similar to like working out a bug in a computer program, right? Sometimes it takes forever, so you just can't, and you sometimes you have to start again. That's okay, because the next time you learned your lesson, you've taken that step, you've evolved, right? That's what it is. So it's about embracing the moment, isn't it? Embracing the moment. I'm just making sure that I'm not sure where the speaker is in this, or the microphone, so I'm making sure I'm not getting muffled. Yeah. That's the thing. If we are focused on the moment, and whether it's dealing with people or nature or ourselves, if you have that attention with the present moment rather than off in the past or in the future, then things eventually work out. The future eventually works out. You know, you end up being in the right place at the right time. You know, when you stop pushing, when you relax and let go, it's really about letting go and letting nature take its course, as it were, I suppose. Yeah. So, yeah, you know, I titled this our relationship with God or something like that. So yeah, I consider that, you know, the God that's most evident is Mother Earth. And so you wouldn't really need to expect Mother Earth to be benevolent, right? Because although we will experience some kind of suffering, every sentient being or creature or living thing experiences some kind of suffering. Yeah, we experience it in basically, you know, physical pain in sometimes, but also desires, you know, wanting to achieve something, wanting to be something. A lot of the time these are kind of misdirections. Yeah, and the suffering is sometimes a means to a positive end. You know, if you are suffering, you want to get out of that situation, you want to improve the situation, and that's fine. So it's all part of what this life experience is, right? So, you know, we have to accept the suffering and turn it around rather than being a victim and worrying about things like death and all that, and whether we are being a good or a bad person, you know. It's strange. I saw a guy come into the chip shop the other day. Well, a couple came into the chip shop the other day, and really nice couple. And it was the lady that wanted, a young couple, the lady that wanted the fish and chips, and the guy that was with her looked like a nice guy, but he was on a diet. There was a language barrier because he couldn't really, he was Russian or Kazakhstan or something, and so he couldn't really speak English. So I said, "Oh, you want a raw food diet?" They didn't quite understand what I was saying. So, okay, but I figured he was maybe the type that was. And what's a shame in a way is that he couldn't sit still. This, you know, I think they were, obviously they'd gone out for this meal together. They come to our place to have a meal together, but she was eating and he wasn't because of his special diet. And I've been in the same position. I've done the same, you know, where I've abstained from food, you know, but really it was a shame because of the guy's, what I'm presuming it wasn't a medical thing, but it was more like a kind of just his own decision to not eat fried food or whatever like that, you know. So that's why I thought he was on a raw food diet. So I even offered some. I said, okay, we got mushy peas. They're not fried; they're boiled. You can have that. But the thing is, what I observed was that the guy wasn't comfortable. You know, so he was up and down out of his seat and things like that, you know, and his poor girlfriend, I presume, was trying to eat, and, you know, he was buying, but he wasn't with her in the moment. It was more of like, it was creating a lot of angst for the guy, I could see. So I don't know, just an observation. I don't know what to make of it, but it was just obviously there was conflict in the guy's mind, and there didn't necessarily have to be. And I think a lot of, obviously there is the guilt that comes with, you know, when you're eating meat or an animal. Yeah. So, I mean, I tried to keep it to just fish, and I know that it's still, you know, you can still think this, you know, a fish can be a pet or whatever it is, you know, it's all the same. I know that, but it's bothered me as well. But again, looking at what I'm saying is, you know, there is this natural cycle of, and we have to, you know, we have to kind of pretend that doesn't exist, or wish that this natural cycle that we see around us doesn't exist, in order to try and attain this kind of utopia or whatever. It's never going to be that way, I'm afraid, you know, unfortunately. Obviously we can do what we can to relieve suffering. I mean, if I was able to, you know, raise my own animals, then I'd do that, you know, and you make sure they have a good life and you can be their friend and what have you, because it is horrible to see the suffering. What's that, Nouveau? Every flower, every plant, every tree, spiders, webs, mushrooms, apples, oranges, vegetables, all a fractal of the earth, even autonomy, once you see it. Yes, nicely said, very nicely said. Yeah. It's, yeah, and that's the thing. And really I suppose the mission is to become detached from that, right? And not worry so much about all of these things. You don't necessarily need to feel guilty for fulfilling your human needs, and chickens over the road having a scrap. Now they go into, it's funny, they'll break into song once in a while. Once, one will start clacking away, and then, you get this rhythmic kind of song going amongst the chickens. Yeah. They will maybe eventually end up as food. I don't know, but it's wonderful you can appreciate the life that they have, the way they communicate as a community, the way and they understand exchange as well. Yeah. They understand, there's a kind of exchange of food for eggs and things like that, but maybe that, we'll see if they start up while we're having this feed. Yeah. And of course, every different culture's got a different outlook. Yeah. But obviously the more, I suppose, the more Buddhist you become, I suppose, and that doesn't mean that you start following a religion, but just the more you kind of get that reconnection. Of course, you don't want to eat meat, but you don't actively seek out the best juiciest steak and things like that. But what I suppose is probably a happy medium is that you don't end up kind of refusing it when it's the only option that you have and it's offered to you. There's probably nothing sinful about that if it happens that you're offered a fish or a chicken or whatever to eat, and that's all that's available. Then there's probably no sin in having that. It's there. Nature has provided it for you, and go ahead. It's not necessarily your fault that you're in that particular situation. You don't, it would be sometimes more upsetting and create more of a disequilibrium if you kind of said, oh no, I can't eat that, that's against my principles, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, just accept the moment as it is, without the judgment, without the preconceptions, without this kind of, again, I'm not, you see what I'm saying? I'm not advocating. All I'm advocating is acceptance of the situation sometimes, but you can do your best to be a good participant. I'll try and give you, yeah. And doing something like this, just getting connected with the ground, is fantastic. Feels good, Not much going on in the chat. But yeah, do you see my point? The moment we start manipulating things artificially, things mess up. Like I was saying, with this artificial pond, with this pond here, the snails have taken over, and because the snails haven't been eaten, then they've eaten everything else. Yeah. So in nature there is this, and even humans are part of that animal the animal cycle, right? As I said, in the country, then the people will be eating the snails. And when people get together and they have a good laugh and everything, and it's kind of like, yeah, you sometimes, as if you're on that vegetarian or vegan thing vibe, and you see people just kind of nonchalantly boiling up whatever insects or whatever it might be, and kind of they don't seem to have any pity for the animals that they are consuming. It's kind of like, how can I say, it's almost like a full cycle thing, because you have to get to that point where you accept the way things are, right? Oh, hi Greg, thank you very much. That's very nice of you to say so. It's nice to be able to come on here and express some thoughts, and amongst like-minded people. And this is the thing, you see, it's, when you think about the trolling that you get on flat Earth and things like that, you know that what they're doing is defensive. When people make hit piece videos, and really their ridicule is just their defense. They haven't evolved to that stage of acceptance. They're still stuck in this kind of fake reality in which they think it's a competition to win points, and the ego is in control. When the ego is in control, you do crazy stuff, you do silly, hurtful things, but that just reveals the kind of state of mind that is not really totally conscious of what the ego is doing. Yeah, you're allowing the ego to rule. So that's the thing, isn't it? It's you're not getting as many views, you're not getting the subs and things. It's not about that at all. It's about connecting with the people that really want to explore where we are and who we are, and all that, rather than making a living off a false dichotomy. Yeah. So that's the goal. For me, just again, I can only speak from personal experience, right? But I see people around, flat earthers as well, or truthers as well, demanding that you follow their narrative, their point of view, or their evidence. And it's like, well, the way I see it is that we can all contribute something. Everyone's got something that they've observed or seen, or they've got thoughts to add. And okay, let's put it in the mix. But to be divisive over it is silly. That becomes cult-like. Yeah. When you're insisting, and calling other people out. That's the thing, a part of this journey is just understanding that each of us is on a journey and we're evolving. Yeah. And maybe it is like a game where you have to evolve the soul. Thank you, Walk-in Axel. Happy New Year to you, man. Yeah. Like I said, there's a lot to be said for just. It's amazing what happens when all the things that come up in a day, right? Sometimes you have a plan, right? But then things happen, and all those things that come up a day. If your day is busy and you're problem solving and things like that all day, but that's okay. It's kind of like that's better than twiddling your thumbs, waiting for a job to come in or something. It's funny. You can reach a point where every day's an adventure. Yeah. And if it's not, then you're approaching it in the wrong way, right? Yeah. Every day is an adventure. Yeah. And it's not about monetary wealth. It's not about looks. It's not about flashiness. I mean, I was listening to a guy telling me this story. He was working as a driver for this Russian woman, and he was telling me how every day she would go shopping for hours, and he said he followed her around one day, and like all they would do was just go into these shops and inspect the products and read them and things like that, and they might or might not buy things, but that's all they did. And then off to restaurants, things like that. Just a kept woman. The husband or whoever was providing for her wasn't there all the time. She had everything she wanted materially, but a very, very, very dull existence. Yeah. And of course, we're born in, where a lot of the time we're struggling to make ends meet. And it's, but those are the times when, all of us can look back on times we've struggled, right? When we've had nothing, we've had no food, or we've, whatever. But you're still here. You got through it, right? It wasn't the end of the world. Yeah. And so that's the amazing thing about this whole experience. Yeah, just depends how you look back on. You can think about things that were really frustrating at a time in the past, and just you're like, why is this happening to me? This is insane. Why did that person do this or that? And you look back and say, okay, it was a lesson in life. It was a lesson about yourself. It was a lesson about other people. Yeah. What's that? God Ether Man. Shout out to you, brother. Maybe we can do a collaboration one of these. Okay. Thanks, man. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I got a very sketchy schedule, so just kind of jumping on live because I've actually just closed the chip shop today, and we're just actually chilling. I've got to do a thing tonight. Got to go and be an MC and for a New Year event. So, and this is it. Yeah, I mean, it's funny sometimes. Of course, I'll think about going back to England and things like that. But actually, everything I've built up is here. I've got people I work with, and this network of people that's all based here. If I went back to England now, it'd be like starting again. Would be nice, but yeah, it's like wow. And I'm grateful, really grateful for all those hard times. I mean, who knows? I don't know why I came here to Thailand. No idea. Something just drew me here. And that's the thing. I mean, with my kids as well, I'm watching them each grow into individuals, and everyone's got their path. Everyone's got their thing. And that's okay. That's the thing. You don't need to get angry about them. You just be realistic and accept it. Psychos exist just like a lion could pounce on you in the prairies at any time, or a snake could, it's like, or the smallest thing could kill us. Yeah. So yeah, just kind of like got to learn to live with that, eh? Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's my God is Mother Earth, and of course there's a lot more going on besides that. But when you get reconnected, it's a fantastic thing, and acceptance, surrender, and acceptance is probably the best ways of dealing with life. And if you just let things unfold and try our best to learn from every situation that presents itself to us, and try not to react with the ego, try to recognize when the ego is jumping in to create a situation. That's when we have free will. Yeah, our free will is, do you decide to go with what the ego is telling you, or do you decide to go with what would be a more natural, kind of neutral approach? Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, we do have decisions to make in that case, and if something is stressing you out, and it's either just because you're taking it personally, or your ego is bruised, or you're just not in the right place, and it's time to move on or change. Yeah. I'll just read what you said there, Greg. Like you say, everything is evolving and constantly in flux, even the breath. Yes, I like the way you are a spiritual being doing an utmost with a good sense of humor and an MC too. Thanks very much. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's a nice little gig, this one. I've been doing it for a few years now. Every year I get called to the same place. Yeah. Benemaja. Oh, my wife's just come home. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. I'm going to have to sign off now and get back to being a house husband. Yeah. So I hope you all have a great New Year. I'll film the New Year fireworks from the beach tonight. Check out Wise Up, his latest video, in the channel description. Yeah. And you all have yourselves a wonderful New Year's. Okay. Take care. See you soon.